So this month, I will be doing something a little bit different. For the month of August, I am doing what I'm calling the Sharpening Your Axe Summer Series, nonprofit strategy sessions on sustainability. August is a great time to slow down, to go deep, to learn, to plan, and to prepare for the hustle of the end of the year. Just like Abraham Lincoln said, if you give me 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'll spend 6 hours sharpening my axe. So my goal with this series is to help you sharpen your proverbial organizational axe during the slower, somewhat days of summer. Each week, I'll be focusing on one of the core elements that make nonprofits strong: fundraising, boards, staff, finance, and organizational direction. Each week, I'll be sharing content that explores the theme from different angles, a combination of short form strategy tips, long form trainings that go deeper into some aspect of the theme, and always an encore podcast episode featuring me in more of a generative conversation with one of my incredible guests, exploring the theme from yet a third angle. These strategy sessions are fire. So grab a notebook, grab a pen, curl up someplace really comfy, and enjoy. This week is week number 1, and we will be focusing on sharpening your fundraising axe. I've got a great interview with my girl, Jess Campbell. I'm pulling from my in-house library to share a 6-minute strategy episode about how to leverage the fundamentals of donor psychology. And I'm resharing an incredible audio masterclass with one of my very favorite people in the world and a fundraising guru, Susie Myers-Jackson. All of the resources mentioned and some that aren't are available in the show notes at brookerichiebabbage.com/podcast. Hi, this is the Nonprofit Mastermind podcast, and I'm your host, Brooke Richie-Babbage. Each week, I do a deep dive into the mindset and strategies and tactics and tools of scaling an incredible high-impact nonprofit. I'm so glad you're here. This is 6-minute strategy for leaders of growth stage nonprofits, where I share a quick strategy tip on launching, scaling, and leading your growing nonprofit. This episode focuses on the rules of donor psychology and how to leverage them to improve your fundraising. Now, there are rules of donor engagement that never change. Many of these are intuitive. They are ways of interacting with people and moving through the world that are familiar to us. I found that organizing them and naming them as a framework makes it easier to use them in strategic and tactical ways. And I encourage you to refer to these donor triggers as you're thinking about your acquisition or top of funnel donor strategies. The first is consistency and commitment. People are deeply oriented around habit and identity. They want to remain consistent with who they've been in the past. If they say yes to you once, they're far more likely to do it again. So demonstrate their consistency and commitment by inviting them to say yes to you a second time. Now, most people who have made a donation have said some version of the following: yes, I'm part of your tribe. I see your vision. I believe in it too. What you're doing resonates with me and my idea of how the world should be. Once that happens, even in a small way, it is far easier to get them to engage and or donate again. Now, in practice, this can simply mean reminding them of the part of their identity that includes your organization. A simple anniversary note. Hey, can you believe it's been 3 years since you joined our community? So happy to have you. And another way to tap into this is to ask for pledges in writing. The second is anchoring. The human brain compares subsequent options with the one that came first and uses that comparison as a means to get to the best endpoint. We do it all the time. And with respect to fundraising, this speaks to the importance of being clear about your call to action and about the context in which they are giving. For example, suggesting a donation amount anchors people to that donation amount so that anything they give is going to be relative to that amount. Providing a range of amounts on a donation page rather than asking for just a gift is also very powerful. And being really careful about what the bottom of that range is. A third donor trigger is loss aversion. When people feel connected to something, they are wired to do anything they can to avoid the loss of that thing. Scarcity adds value. Your donors don't want to see your organization experience loss. And this is where storytelling becomes so important. Things like offering brief case studies on how the people and communities you serve are being impacted by current realities can lay the foundation for you to also share how the person or prospective donor can help by making a donation. Next, authority. People inherently trust others who are perceived as experts on a subject or who have a social status in an ecosystem that they care about. Being clear about your organization's area of expertise and knowledge can help you establish authority in your ecosystem. Look at your evaluation data and ask yourself, for example, what do we know about our community? What insights do we have into the impact of current realities on the systems in which our constituents function, like schools, prisons, foster care, or the courts? These do not have to be huge things, but you can find ways to explicitly name and showcase your expertise. What may seem commonplace to you is often new and interesting information to potential donors. Donors crave information and they value and trust the people and institutions that provide good, solid information. Next, reciprocity. This is simple. This is the notion that if you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Human beings are wired to return the favor. You smile at someone, they instinctively smile back. In fundraising, this is about effective stewardship. After a donor makes a gift, and before you ask them for another, engage with them in some way that provides a benefit to them. Share the impact of their gift. Send a random thank you card, etc. They will be primed to want to return the favor the next time you ask. And finally, social proof. When people believe their peers approve of your organization, they'll be more likely to approve of you as well. Social proof is a built-in decision-making shortcut. Case studies, testimonials, and social sharing on social media are easy and effective social proof tactics. Consider, for example, asking current supporters to talk about you in their personal social media channels, asking people on your newsletter to be the one to forward your newsletter and blog post to their friends, and sprinkle supporter testimonials throughout your website or even on your LinkedIn profile. That's it for this time. See you next time. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of the Nonprofit Mastermind podcast. I always have so much fun doing these episodes. Definitely check out the links to all of the goodies that I mentioned in this episode. You can get that at brookerichiebabbage.com/podcast for the show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode and think that you have a friend or colleague who would also enjoy, I would love if you would leave a review and share. Have a great week.